Today, the books are for the birds. The first book that I have is Birds Eat and Eat and Eat by Roma Gans, illustrated by Ed Emberley. Sorry, I have to reposition the book. I positioned it on the second book that I'm reading. Birds eat and eat and eat. Copyrighted 1963. Birds eat and eat and eat. They seem to eat all day. How often do you eat? 3 times a day? 4 times a day? 5 times a day? Birds eat 10, 30, or even 50 times a day. Each day they may eat hundreds of flies and gnats and bugs and caterpillars and worms and insects. It will eat hundreds of seeds and berries, too. Watch the birds to see how they eat. Blue jays, sparrows, and juncos eat seeds off the ground. Fox sparrows, chewinks scratch and dig the ground. Robins pull worms right out of the ground. A goldfinch sits on a sunflower and eats the seeds. Chickadees perch on the branch of a shrub and eat the seeds. They swing on the branch as they eat. Crows eat seeds too. They walk in a cornfield and pull up plants that have just started to grow. They eat seeds at the bottom of the plants. Look at the sad scarecrow. See his face? Guess he's not really doing such a good job. Maybe he feels a little overwhelmed. Swallows and phoebes catch their food in the air as they fly. They swoop and dive after gnats and insects. As the phoebe catches an insect, you can hear the bird click its beak. Woodpeckers get food from trees. Have you ever watched a woodpecker go up and down around a tree? It stops to rap on the tree with its beak. It pecks holes into the tree to find bugs and worms under the bark. Birds eat and eat and eat. You can see how much they eat. Put some breadcrumbs on the ground near your house. Sparrows and blue jays and starlings will soon find them. See how quickly they eat the crumbs. Birds eat and eat and eat. You can see how much they eat. Make a feeder from an empty milk carton, the size that holds 1 glass of milk. Cut off the cover. The carton will be the feeder. Punch holes on opposite sides near the top. Put strings through the holes to make handles. Hang the feeder from a shrub or a low branch. Fill it with seeds. You can buy seeds for birds at the grocery store. Once birds find your feeder, they will eat and eat until it is empty. Chickadees and goldfinches, blackbirds, and nuthatches may come. They are seed eaters. When your feeder is empty, fill it again. See how quickly the birds empty it. Birds eat in different ways. The chickadee flies to a branch with a seed. It holds the seed against the branch with its feet. It pecks and pecks to open the shell. It eats the kernel, then flies to the feeder to get another seed. The nuthatch pokes a sunflower seed into a small hole in the bark of a tree. It pecks and pecks to open the seed. It eats the kernels and flies to get another seed. Birds eat and eat and eat. You can see how much they eat. Make a suet feeder. Get some suet from a meat market. Tie the suet to the branch of a tree. Big and little woodpeckers will come to it. They will eat and eat. Nuthatches and chickadees and blue jays will eat the suet too. See how many birds will eat from your feeders. They will come to your feeders every day. Once they start coming, you will be busy keeping the feeders filled. You may eat 3 or 4 times a day. Birds eat 10, 30, or even 50 times a day. They eat flies and gnats and bugs and caterpillars and worms and suet and seeds and berries. Birds eat and eat and eat. They seem to eat all day. Okay. Let's read another book. This is called The Robins Knew. This is probably at least 35 years old. 1991. The Robins Knew by Carolyn Coaster Yost and illustrated by Catherine W. Gardiner. Father and Mother Robin flew up on the porch of Kimberly's house. Flappity flap, flappity flap. God knew why, and the robins knew why. Do you know why? From the window, Kimberly saw Father Robin cock his head as he looked at a place just under the roof. Mother Robin blinked one eye to say that she liked that spot. Then the robins flew off, flappity flap. Soon the birds were back with straw in their beaks. Back and forth the robins flew with bits of straw and dried grass. Their wings went flappity flap, flappity flap. They tucked the straw and grass into a round shape. Tuckety tuck, tuckety tuck. God knew why. The robins knew why. Do you know why? The robins brought dabs of mud to the nest and pushed the mud around the straw. Mother Robin sat in the straw and the mud and turned around and around while Father Robin watched. Then the birds flew off again, flappity flap, flappity flap. Before long, Mother Robin began sitting on the nest every day. She sat quietly, so quietly. She only blinked her eyes, blinkety blink, blinkety blink. Father Robin stayed nearby in the trees or in the yard. Kimberly wanted to see the nest up close, but Father Robin warned her away. Cheat, 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 he screamed. God knew why, and the robins knew why. Do you know why? So Kimberly watched from the window. One day, Kimberly saw Mother Robin fly to the nest with a worm in her beak. A tiny bald head poked up and took the worm. Then Father Robin came with a worm in his beak, and another little head bobbed up with its mouth open, and then yet another bobbed up. There are baby birds in there, Kimberly said in surprise. Back and forth the robins flew with their worms and bugs. Flappity flap, flappity flap. They hopped around the yard to find worms. Hoppity hop, hoppity hop. Every day the robins worked harder. Hoppity hop, pulling their worms, and flappity flap, flying to the nest, then back to the yard to find more worms and bugs, and hoppity hop, back to the nest, flappity flap, flappity flap. The little heads reaching for the worms grew bigger and became fuzzy. Kimberly could hear the babies' peeping sounds. Peepity peep, peepity peep. Then one day, a cat came by and looked up at the nest. Father and Mother Robin flicked their tails. Flickety-flick, flickety-flick, they screamed. Cheat, cheat, cheat. In the nest the little bird's heart beat hard with fear. Thumpity-thump, thumpity-thump. God knew why. The robins knew why. Do you know why? But the cat couldn't reach the nest up on the porch and went away. Then Father and Mother Robin came back with more food, and still more food. Every day the babies grew bigger. Now Kimberly saw the feathers on their heads when they bobbed up for food. Their peeping noises became cheeping sounds. Cheepity-cheep, cheepity-cheep. Soon the babies grew so big that the little nest was crowded. So the baby birds pushed and shoved each other for more room. But there was none. One day one of the babies pushed so hard that one of them fell out of the nest. Cheepity-cheep, cheep. The baby bird cried loudly as he fluttered down. He was so scared. But he wasn't hurt, and soon he hopped around on the porch. Once he was out of the nest, he liked hopping and fluttering. Very nice, exclaimed Father and Mother Robin. Father and Mother Robin hopped around their baby, chirping to him, chirpity-chirp, chirpity-chirp. By the next day, all the babies had fluttered down from the nest. They hopped over the yard and even tried their wings a little, but they couldn't fly far. At night they hid in the tall grass. At first, Father and Mother Robin brought food to their babies on the ground. Then they showed their babies how to look for worms and bugs. Hoppity-hop, hoppity-hop went the babies looking for food. Father and Mother Robin showed the babies how to sit and sleep on a tree branch all night long. They taught the babies how to sing praises to God. Tweety-tweet, tweety-tweet, tweet. God knew why, and the robins knew why. Do you know why? That is a sweet little book. So, now I'm actually going to read or look at another book. I just have to change my camera a little bit. Okay. This one is called Bird Watchers and Bird Feeders by Glenn Blau and Jean Bendick. Oh, this is a very long book. Actually, I am not going to read it. I'm just going to show it to you because I think it'd be a better wintertime book. But it really goes into depth about the different seasons for birds, different types of bird feeders, the different types of things that birds like to eat, and how to make sure that you feed each of the different birds in your yard. Then what each bird looks like, how they climb and find bugs, how to write down and journal which birds you see, and then how to study each bird. So that is really for older children. But one thing that I wanted to suggest for an activity is a bird notebook. I had really hoped that we could hear the birds outside, but every time, first I read the books and I forgot to push the button that records the reading. So then I waited, and every time I wanted to read about the birds, there were no birds chirping outside. So I just gave up, and now I just read without any birds. I think I might read one more book. No, I'm going to save it. We will read another bird book tomorrow. But one of my sons used to have a bird detective agency. And so he made up little signs, and if anybody saw a bird that they couldn't identify, they could describe it to him and he'd try to find it. We also had bird feeders in the backyard, so sometimes we would see birds that we didn't recognize, but we would try to listen to what they sounded like and get out the bird identification books, and it was a lot of fun. So that's the Aunt Becky activity for today. Tomorrow we'll read another book about birds.